Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Well, those of us who were quite concerned about Panasonic discontinuing 3 micro four thirds lenses a month or so ago meant that they were considering leaving the micro four thirds system and concentrating on full frame. I guess we can all breathe a sigh of relief because they have now announced refresh versions of those lenses. So the Leica 12 to 60 f2.8 to f4, the Leica 25mm f1.4, and the Lumix 42.5mm f1.7. Why they didn't wait to discontinue those until after they announced the new versions, who knows? You know, there's an old saying, I think it was Oscar Wilde, said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So that certainly got people talking. So maybe that was the plan, who knows? But as far as the refresh to these lenses, they're pretty minor. Nothing major optically, with the exception of a fluorine coating on the front element of the lens, which is supposed to make it shed water better and make it easier to clean. If you use a protective filter on the front of your lens, and I do, I didn't used to, but filters and coatings on filters have gotten so good that I don't really see much difference when I put a filter on that has decent coatings. And if there was a problem that I thought the filter was using, I would just take it off. So there's that. The other change is the white lettering around the front element. They're changing that to a darker gray. That's similar to what's on the front of this Sigma 20 to 200 millimeter lens. It's kind of got a ghosted back gray print around there, and that's to avoid any reflections on reflective surfaces. It won't show up as much. I've never had a real problem with that, and lenses have had white lettering around there for ages, right? So, yeah, I don't think any reason to sell your current versions of these lenses and then buying new ones. It's just optically they're the same except for that one thing with the coatings. And that 70 to 200 millimeter f4 stabilized L-mount lens, they're doing the same thing. I mean, essentially they're putting the fluorine coating on that. I think they're doing the same thing with the print. So about that lens. Now, when I shot Canon full frame, I had the original 70 to 200 millimeter f4L lens. And when the stabilized version came out, I immediately sold that original one and bought the stabilized version of the 70 to 200 f4L. And that was a really, really good lens. It was very, very sharp. Took teleconverters, so I had a 1.4 teleconverter for it. But the nice thing about that lens is it was quite light, 695 grams, so about 1.5 pounds. But if you look at the Lumix 70 to 200 millimeter f4, it's like 985 grams, so we're talking 2 pounds. Why it has to be that heavy, it's beyond me. But it is not as heavy as, obviously, the f2.8 version, and I've never felt like I wanted to lug the weight of the f2.8 Canon 70 to 200. I just thought it was just too big and heavy. Didn't find that I ever really needed anything faster than f4. Now, this morning I also saw that Samyang, which is an L-mount Alliance member, although they only have one lens currently, they are just releasing a 60 to 180 millimeter f2.8 lens for Sony E-mount and for L-mount. So that's interesting. Now, it only weighs around 730 grams, so it's a little bit more than that Canon 70 to 200 f4, and it's f2.8. I've done a little bit of reading about it. The build quality is a little iffy. It's very jerky in the zoom. Now that might loosen up with use. The 20 to 200 millimeter Sigma, when I first got it, was pretty stiff, and it has now loosened up quite a bit. But nothing compares to the zoom of this 12 to 60 millimeter Leica. This thing is like a knife through butter. It is so smooth. But, you know, if you really want f2.8, it seems like kind of a decent option because it's not very heavy, and really 180 to 200, yeah, you're going to be able to crop to make up for that difference. And 60 to 50, there's a bit of a difference there. But we'll see. And people will get a hold of it, and we'll hear whether it's worth it or not. Price-wise, about $1,000. $1,000 for the E-mount version and $100 more for the L-mount version. I don't know why that is, but maybe it's because they probably have to pay to be part of the L-mount Alliance. I guess. I don't know. Anybody knows? Leave a comment. So anyway, to summarize, great news. Panasonic is going to stick with Micro Four Thirds. Oh, and OM Systems has announced that they'll be releasing a new Pen F in September. So folks who really liked that original Pen F, it looks like you're in luck. You're going to get a new one. One of the things I remember about that camera, now I never use it, but I do remember there being a fair amount of complaints about autofocus. So I would imagine they are putting a sensor with the latest phase detect autofocus in there, so shouldn't be a problem. So, great news. Any questions, comments? Leave them down below. Hopefully this was useful and interesting. You can give it a thumbs up if it is. And I'm Todd Banner. I will see you in the next video.